handsome CEO, rocketing to success.
He has the accent, he's charismatic. It's like the Colin Firth of Silicon Valley.
The product that they were about to launch was top secret.
This was really a Cinderella story, and it was going to make them a really huge company.
Countless admirers bring about countless rumors.
When the president of your company goes missing, everybody speculates.
It was just veiled in secrecy. They thought maybe somebody had kidnapped him.
Santa Clara, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, is an intoxicating place to be at the dawn of the tech boom.
It was an exciting time. Things were happening really quickly.
Silicon Valley was growing by leaps and bounds. There were startup companies all over.
Can you believe this thriving town is about to be rocked by a murder no one will ever forget?
This guy, he's amazing. Look at him out there.
49-year-old Michael Shockley and his wife Mavis came all the way from England to make it big in the computer industry.
My husband was a really highly intelligent man, really quite a brilliant man, really. And he practically could do anything and be successful at it.
After years of climbing the ladder at various startups, Michael began to make a name for himself and a hefty salary.
They did not have children, and they went to jazz clubs, they went out to dinner a lot, and they socialized a lot. They lived a very rich lifestyle.
He enjoyed travel, and sometimes I would go with him on business trips. It was a very fulfilling life.
But Mavis knew her husband was capable of a lot more. 15 years after moving to Silicon Valley, she encouraged him to go out on his own.
I proposed the idea of starting the company, so I was working with them at the time, and we used to meet in our house, and everything was secret.
Out of the couple's living room, Newsome Technology is born. With the help of Michael's right-hand man, Dawson Williams, the company's future is bright.
Dawson was very, very ambitious, and they were a good team.
Dawson Williams was more than just Michael's business partner. He really was a friend, and they both put in the long hours and the late nights to make sure that Newsome was a success.
To Newsome Technologies.
Newsome Technologies.
Even with a staff of 100, Michael maintains a hands-on approach.
Just an early morning bribe.
Michael was popular amongst his employees. He was a friendly boss. He knew people by name. He's one of these leaders that you felt like you were all part of the same system, all sharing the same goal.
So do we get this every day?
Sure, no problem.
And as people started getting hired on, we're with each other so many hours that, they kind of become a surrogate family.
Their hands-on approach pays off.
Well, everything's come in. The quotes from Pennsylvania, the quotes from Tennessee, the quotes from Texas. Everything matches just fine.
In 9 months, the company plans to launch some cutting-edge technology that could revolutionize the industry.
175.
It was very exciting. The silicon chip was very new, and my husband had helped invent a machine which was called automatic test equipment for the microchip.
It was a very exciting time to be able to put together this huge piece of test equipment in a way that was different and had never been done before.
But game-changing has its risks. The machine will make Newsome Technology millions, and competitors will do anything to get a piece of the action.
Lots of people came to the Bay Area, predominantly from Japan, to try and steal some of our secrets.
One of the things that was of concern back then was industrial espionage. People would go to a startup company and they would learn what the business is and then go to another company. And so that was a real concern.
Despite the constant threat of tech espionage and spy games, Michael keeps his employees loyal.
The company picnic was a time to just relax, let your hair down. Everyone could mingle and get to know one another.
And there are some on the staff who'd like to get to know Michael in other ways.
Michael was so handsome and so debonair, and he had the accent, so of course a lot of the women at the company kind of had a crush on him.
But that doesn't bother Mavis one bit.
You have to understand that when a man becomes successful, women do gravitate toward that man. I think you really have to base your marriage on trust. And I trusted him.
Which is good, because some of the company games are a little more up close and personal.
During the picnic, they even had a sack race where Michael was paired with one of the production planners, Jane.
35-year-old Jane Carpenter is in need of a little distraction.
There are a lot of rumors going on about Jane.
Her husband was difficult. There were some issues there.
She had recently gone through a divorce. She was raising 2 kids on her own.
All right, everyone, on your mark. Get set. Oh, no.
Lucky for her, Michael's always been sympathetic. In fact, since Newsome Technologies' inception, Michael Shockley has been everyone's rock. But as the product launch date approaches, the staff can't help but notice something's bothering their fearless leader.
How you holding up? You all right?
I'm fine, thank you.
He lost that spring in his step. He would come to work and go straight to his office and close the door.
Appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure. Really.
Not even the company Christmas party can cheer him up.
I think I am going to go jump on the dance floor.
Mavis? Michael, I have a feeling it's going to be the best Christmas ever.
It is going to be great.
What's wrong, darling?
I'm exhausted.
I thought probably the strain of all of this was causing him to be depressed and feeling not as confident as he usually was.
You drive safely.
Thank you. You do the same.
I love you, darling.
I love you. Bye.
As the weeks go by, rumors grow about Michael's behavior.
He was putting so much into this project that people thought maybe there was even more going on with him. Could there be something shady?
Maybe Michael just wasn't cut out to make it big.
I did hear some talk that he might have been the type of person that would really work hard for success, but then sabotage it before he got there.
Especially when rumors swirl of tension in the corner office.
We need more people.
We have got plenty of
It is
people on
easy.
staff. They just...
It really was an intense time, not only for my husband, but for the other members of the team.
Get the door on the way out. They just need to be motivated.
In fact, the whole company is on edge.
I mean, there were times I can remember putting in like 14-hour days. A lot, you know, because there were few people and there was a lot to get done, and you just did it, or you just try to get it done. You just try to keep things moving and moving and moving.
And Mavis is concerned.
There's coffee if you'd like some.
No, thank you, darling.
You're right.
I'm fine.
You've lost a substantial amount of weight. It's a bit concerning.
He ended up losing about 30 pounds.
Even I notice it, and I see you every
I confronted him, and he said it was such a huge strain to start this company and be responsible for so many people. It was really wearing him down.
By the way, I'll be home
But with
late.
days to the launch, Michael has to push through.
He had told me he was going to be home late because he was going to a dinner meeting, which was not unusual.
I love you.
love you too.
I went to bed about midnight, I suppose. And then when I got up in the morning, he still hadn't come home all night.
Michael?
Silicon Valley CEO Michael Shockley is about to strike gold with a huge product launch. But on the eve of the rollout, he disappears without a trace.
Michael?
And this was something he'd never done before, never.
Mavis checks the office in case her husband is pulled an all-nighter, but no one has seen him. When he's still not home by 7 p.m., she fears the worst and phones the police.
Mavis called the police to report her husband never came home, and it became a missing persons case.
When you have a loved one who's missing, it's probably one of the worst things you can imagine happening because you don't know. It's excruciating.
Mavis was hoping against hope that he was just taking a time out. But she also had fears that he may have been victim of a crime or that he was in a ditch somewhere after a car accident.
Naturally, Michael's work family shares Mavis's concern.
Cheryl, have you heard anything from Michael?
No, I was gonna ask you about that.
He knows we have an investors meeting.
I can't believe he's not here.
I just had this feeling that something terrible had happened.
I don't need this.
Soon, detectives show up at Newsome Technology to question the staff.
What can you tell me about the dinner meeting the night Michael disappeared?
I can't tell you anything. I don't know anything about it.
Dawson and Michael were obviously really close, but when it came to authorities asking Dawson questions, he really didn't have a lot of answers. So it made them question whether or not he was being forthright.
Michael have any problems here at work?
Not to mention all the tension in the office lately.
We're under a lot of pressure, Detective.
Here we have a business partner, so the question, of course, was posed, what did they have to gain from his being missing?
Detective, with all due respect, do you know what kind of pressure we are underneath here?
Maybe Dawson really wanted to just take this thing and make it his own. It just really seemed as though he maybe had the most incentive to gain from Michael being gone.
Rumors had been circulating for months that everything wasn't as it seemed.
You have the door on the way out? You have to find a way to motivate them better, I'll say that.
I felt Dawson always had an ulterior motive, that he wanted to climb the ladder to the top. I really felt that he was sort of ruthless, actually.
It wouldn't be the first time a VP staged a coup. With Michael out of the way, Dawson was positioned to take over Newsome Technology and all its glory. And while Mavis has her eyes on Dawson, he's pointing the finger at her.
One of Dawson's statements was, there she is, sitting on the hill with all that money.
Mavis does stand to inherit quite a bit of money from the company with Michael out of the picture.
When I came home from work one day, there were police looking for something. And the detective told me that you have to realize that husbands and wives are always the first people we suspect.
This is it? I mean, I think it's a little unnecessary.
Adding to suspicion, there's no one to confirm Mavis's story about the night her husband went missing. Could she have lied to police about Michael's mystery business meeting? After all, Dawson claimed he knew nothing about it.
Was Michael involved in any type of drugs?
No drugs.
Investigators at this point take their questioning with Mavis up a notch.
Did he have a girlfriend?
No.
The police did ask me, was my husband having relationships with other women? Were we arguing and fighting?
Mavis said that Michael was a good husband, she was a good wife.
Investigators find no evidence of foul play at the Shockley home.
Anything else?
Police are no closer to finding Michael, and it's been 3 days since he disappeared. Concern grows that a competitor might have had something to do with his disappearance.
Michael's disappearance really had people wondering if this had anything to do with his top secret launch.
People at the company were very concerned because of their product. It was just veiled in secrecy. And so they thought maybe somebody had kidnapped him to gain access, maybe being held for ransom.
Gossip over what happened to Michael rips through the office as detectives try to retrace his steps.
The Belmont Police Department, they interviewed a lot of people at the company. They did extensive interviews with Mavis.
They continue to talk to his friends and his employees. They've even gone to restaurants that he goes to quite often, and still nothing.
This project is this close. It's going to change the face of the industry. Why would he do that? I don't know. The pressure. Sometimes men get scared. I don't know.
Do you think his wife had something to do with it?
Police issue a statewide bulletin, and the case of the missing computer executive makes major headlines.
Usually a missing persons case is just local, but this went international because we were getting inquiries all the way from England.
Ladies, I know this is sad, and I don't want to seem callous, but we're all on a deadline, and there's plenty to do.
Michael's story really had everyone in Silicon Valley on edge. Not only were they worried about him, they're worried about their own companies.
Eight days after Michael Shockley goes missing, investigators get a big tip from production planner Jane Carpenter. Against all odds, she spotted Michael's car not too far from her own condo.
As I recall, the car looked perfectly fine. Just it had been parked there and left, and that was it.
As officers find out, even the car alarm is still set, indicating no one's touched it since Michael left the vehicle.
What was your relationship with Mr. Shockley?
He's my boss.
She said she needed a ride home, and he, being the friendly boss, was gracious enough to give her a ride home.
And Jane has a logical explanation.
No, I only just now noticed it. I typically leave from another door in the building, but...
Jane told us there's two possible ways for her to leave and come back to her condominium, and she took the other way.
As soon as she did notice Michael's car, she calls the police.
He's your boss?
Yes.
Is there anything else going on between you two?
No, we're friends, if that's what you mean.
People
How long have you known
were
Mr.
just
Shockley?
floored that his car was found outside her residence. And then, of course, people just take it from there. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know?
The focus of our investigation became that neighborhood. We talked to anyone who may have seen or heard anything suspicious that night, and nobody saw or heard anything.
Two weeks into Michael's disappearance, there's a sinister turn in the case. A gruesome discovery in the San Francisco Bay.
Once the Coast Guard comes and retrieves this large object, they realize it's a sleeping bag, and when they open it, there's a body inside.
Have police finally found Michael Shockley? If not, where is he?
Michael!
And who could have wanted him out of the way?
You have to find a way to motivate them better, I'll say that.
Two weeks after Silicon Valley CEO Michael Shockley disappears, a sleeping bag is pulled from the San Francisco Bay.
When the Coast Guard finally open it, they realize there's a body inside, and it's badly decomposed.
The body was clearly that of Michael Shockley. Michael's body had 2 bullet holes in it, and it was in a sleeping bag that was thrown into the bay, held down by the anchors. The whole site was very grisly.
It's clear it's a homicide, so somebody's killed him with a gun, and then he's trying to cover it up.
At the coroner's office, the medical examiner determines he's been in the water for at least a week. But there's plenty of evidence intact.
The biggest pieces of evidence we found were the 2 bullets still in the body, the sleeping bag, the anchor and chain, and some long blonde hairs. There was also some carpet fibers in the sleeping bag.
Those kinds of fibers, hairs, found on anything in contact with the body can be very crucial.
For authorities, the oddest part of this collection of evidence was definitely the long blonde hair.
No one we knew of had long blonde hair, so we wanted to find the owner.
But first, investigators must break the news to Mavis.
This is Shockley.
Yes. He said, well, we found Michael. And I said, is he okay? Is he all right? He said, no, he's dead. He was murdered.
No, I don't. That's just not true. That can't be true.
I'm very sorry.
No, that can't be.
It was just so shocking. To this day, I can't even think what I thought. It was so overwhelming and surreal. I really was not able to grieve at all.
After taking a closer look, detectives find that Michael was insured for $500,000. And Mavis shoots up the suspect list.
They said, did you know your husband had double indemnity? And I said, no, I didn't.
Double indemnity guarantees twice the payout if the victim dies in an accident, including murder.
Cops really zeroed in on Mavis and wanted to know if she knew more about where her husband had gone, if there was maybe some infidelity, if she knew that her husband had been stepping out and she wanted to take care of it herself.
Considering Michael's car had been found at Jane Carpenter's condo, could Mavis have caught Michael red-handed? Police continue to investigate as word of the CEO's death hits the headlines.
There was a flurry of activity with the media. He was shot 2 times, body found in the bay. People were talking about that. It was a lead story in the newspapers and in the news at that time.
And that could put the future of the company in jeopardy.
Everybody was concerned about what happens now from a business perspective.
But Michael's business partner takes the reins.
Dawson became president. He then had to take over to get this company and this product going and be successful.
Despite the upheaval, Newsome Technologies' big launch goes off without a hitch. The $1 million product hits the market, and money begins rolling in. But success only complicates things.
Mavis, what are you taking?
These are Michael's items.
The police said specifically don't take anything out of Michael's office.
Dawson directed his anger toward me. In the state of California, which is a community property state, when a married person dies, everything they own goes to their spouse. And he didn't want me to have Michael's shares in the company. And that was very hard for me.
Fine, Mavis, fine. Have it your way. Take it all. Why don't you take the whole company while you're at it?
How dare you?
It really was another ordeal added on to what I was already dealing with.
But it's a relief when Mavis is finally cut from the suspect list.
After extensive questioning, authorities are finally able to clear Mavis.
After a short while, she knew that she was part of the team, and she was very helpful throughout this investigation.
The biggest help she provides is news of a suspicious gift.
Mavis called us one day and told us that she felt like she had something significant and she showed us a credit card bill generated by a florist.
It was a florist in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we had been there about a month before his death. And while we were there, my husband had sent flowers to another woman.
We knew it was something that we had to investigate further.
After CEO Michael Shockley is found shot to death in the San Francisco Bay, his wife Mavis comes forward with a major clue. Evidence of a strange flower purchase for a mystery woman.
Mavis told us that she went with Michael to Phoenix and he didn't want her to go. They had had an argument and he took a walk. And during the time of that walk was when the florist bill was generated.
I called the florist about this charge, and they told me, yes, my husband had been in the shop and had ordered flowers to be sent to this woman, and they gave me the address.
An address that happens to match none other than Newsome Technology employee, Jane Carpenter. You remember Jane. She's the one who found Michael's car across from her condo. Seems pretty incriminating. But when detectives go back to Jane for an explanation, her lips are sealed.
Of course, we had a lot of questions, but she had obtained counsel and was declining to answer any of our inquiries.
You think about reporting this a little
Looks
sooner?
like Jane might be closer to Michael than she'd like everyone to believe.
So we began an investigation into Jane and her relationships around that time.
Jane told police she and Michael were just friends and that he gave her a ride home. But Jane's story didn't stop her coworkers' tongues from wagging. Rumor has it, Jane wasn't a novice at inter-office romance.
Jane came across very friendly. We were all younger, a little bit looser. The men found her very attractive. So I think there were lots of opportunities to get together.
And it seems that Michael had become her latest target.
The employees noticed that Michael behaved differently in the presence of Jane. One person described it as almost giddy.
An innocent office flirtation became a planned seduction.
Jane once said to me, "So what do you think about me having an affair with Michael?" And I just went, "I think that's a terrible idea." I said, "What do you think? He's the president of the company."
Some of the ladies from the company took me out to dinner, and they specifically mentioned this party, that as soon as I left, she danced with him all night long.
You aren't leaving, are you?
No, not yet.
Good, I'm having so much fun. But I thought that now that your wife is gone, maybe you and I could have a little fun of our own.
They said Jane used to call herself the sex queen, so that seems to be the answer for why he did what he did.
When you put everything together, including what we found out at the florist, it was evident to us that there was indeed a romantic relationship going on between Michael and Jane, as the gossip had suggested.
Which has everyone at the company abuzz.
Everyone's talking about Jane, everyone's whispering about what she may or may have not done, and nothing's getting done at work.
After her divorce, Jane, the self-proclaimed sex queen, was eager to move on. But her new ex-husband was not.
Carl Carpenter was an electrician, and he had actually been married to Jane. They had 2 young sons, but they actually got divorced.
I would like my keys back now, please.
Not getting it back.
Carl had a reputation of being a real tough guy. People were afraid of him.
Carl was the type of man that felt it was okay for him to do what he wanted, but not okay for his ex-wife.
This is ridiculous. Why won't you give me my keys back?
That Carl would come around her place, call her, and was trying to be controlling of her, even after they had split up.
We learned from one of Jane's confidants, that she was very worried about him having a key to the condominium, coming and going at will, unannounced.
You have no right to come in here and tell me what to do. We are not married anymore. Now I want my keys back. Give me my keys.
You're not getting them.
I always had the sense that he might have had a temper, that, things were a little off.
Based on the circumstances of the murder, it seems unlikely Jane could have overpowered Michael, killed him, and dumped his body. They start to think Jane's jealous ex may have had something to do with the murder. So where was Carl the night Michael vanished?
Where were you the night of Michael Shockley?
So investigators go and talk to Carl, and of course he denies any involvement in Michael's murder and actually says he has an alibi.
I was at some pizza place with some buddies of mine. We're up at Alameda.
He said that he went to a pizza parlor in nearby Alameda with some other people. They ordered pizza, and then he came back to Newark.
It's a weak alibi for sure, but without further evidence, police have to let him go for now.
At this point, a theory was developing, but we had more investigation to do. Our detectives were working almost round the clock on this.
But Carl's not the only one in the hot seat. Could Jane have masterminded a plot to kill her lover? Or could Michael have been killed in a hostile takeover?
Michael!
And what about the mysterious blonde hair found on Michael's body? It's certainly not Jane's, but it could belong to the killer.
It was really important for the investigators to just keep an open mind in this case. While they had some pieces of evidence, it's not always the most obvious person that's committed the crime.
People in Silicon Valley can't stop whispering about Michael Shockley, the tech CEO who was dumped in the San Francisco Bay. Suspects include an opportunistic employee, Jane, and her menacing ex-husband, Carl. Weeks into the investigation, police get a huge tip when Jane's neighbor comes forward about the night Michael disappeared.
Yeah, I'm really hungry. I didn't cook anything tonight. Chinese sounds really good.
She was on the phone with her husband. She heard running and banging, and then what sounded like gunshot to her.
Investigators get a search warrant for Jane's condo.
We discovered that the carpet upstairs in the bedroom had been recently cleaned. There was blood on the pad underneath the carpet. We discovered damage to the bedroom door frame.
So it appeared that this new striker plate had been put on to cover up the damage to the wood. Now, what would cause damage to the wood like that? Somebody kicking in the door.
And the most damning evidence?
We found out through the Department of Motor Vehicles that Carl had a boat,
which could have been used to dump Michael's body in the middle of the San Francisco Bay.
And the boat has been completely steam cleaned.
So we went to the last reported owner of that boat and showed him the anchor and the chain that was wrapped around the sleeping bag that held Michael's body. And he said, that is the anchor that was in the boat that we sold to Carl.
It turns out that Carl had a station wagon at the time. We're thinking possibly a station wagon is used to transport the body. He had reported that his station wagon had caught fire and burned up accidentally.
And the arson investigator told us the cause of the fire was suspected arson. Our thoughts then were that he did not want us to find evidence of the crime in the station wagon.
When police review Carl's weak alibi, the timeline doesn't hold up.
And so that put Carl right up there as involved, at least with the cover-up and the disposal of the body, if not the murder itself.
And as for the most confusing clue,
the long blonde hair in the sleeping bag was a mystery to us because nobody on Jane's side or on Carl's side had long blonde hair.
Investigators found out the sleeping bags were actually used by Carl and Jane's sons. They had sleepovers frequently, and they were actually able to trace the blonde hair back to one of their sons' friends.
There was also an issue of who had a gun. Where was the gun? And I figured out that Carl had a gun.
Carl never did produce the gun for us, so we were unable to match it specifically to the bullets found in Michael's body.
But it's enough. A judge signs an arrest warrant for Jane and Carl Carpenter.
No right to be doing this, and this is ridiculous.
It was a feeling of relief. It really was. But of course, we hadn't had the trial. And I just hoped they would be punished for what they did.
When I heard that they were both arrested, my first thought for sure was that he did it, because it just fit his background and the way he felt very entitled to her.
But when they arrive at court, everyone's surprised that the bitter exes seem to have kissed and made up.
People were in shock. It was definitely a huge twist.
Despite the courtroom drama, prosecutors are clear about what went down that night at Jane's condo.
Michael and Jane were having a secret affair that developed out of their working together.
Turns out, Michael's stress wasn't just over the company. He had a guilty conscience. Remember when he told Mavis he'd be at the office till late?
And Michael had come to her place that night.
They were upstairs in the bedroom.
What the hell?
And Carl burst in.
What's going on in here? Who are you?
Shot Michael twice.
See what you made me do? This is your fault.
Prosecutors really believed that Carl had motive to kill Michael. He was the jealous ex with a temper. He walked in on them. He killed Michael. Prosecutors also believed that Jane feared for her life, and that's why she helped Carl cover up this murder.
You're gonna do exactly what I say, all right?
And then Jane helped him put the body in the sleeping bag, put it in the station wagon, take it to the bay, put it in the boat, and dump the body into the water.
2, 3.
But when Jane takes the stand, she makes a shocking confession.
She stood up in court and said, "My husband didn't kill him, I did."
Jane testified that they had had an argument and she had threatened to tell Michael's wife about the affair. He got mad.
Jane!
She ran up into the bedroom and locked the door.
Fearing for her life, Jane grabs a gun Carl gave her for protection.
Jane!
That's when Michael turned into a monster, she claims, and came after her, and then she shot him in self-defense.
What happened?
I don't know. He came at me and I shot him. I didn't mean to shoot him.
It's okay. We'll make it go away. Okay?
So when Carl testifies, he completely backs Jane's story and says that he too felt the need to cover it up because he wanted to protect the mother of his children and his family.
Michael was not a violent person at all. I mean, he never really ever raised his voice. So to me, it was just a made-up story. It was to try and get off. It was injustice to me because I think they were guilty, and I really wanted them to go to jail for the rest of their lives. We all felt let down.
We were all flabbergasted. It was so heinous that I just can't, even to this day, believe that I know anyone who could do anything like this.
Are you having fun?
Jane was an opportunist. She sought out an opportunity for gains for herself. And she didn't care who she was hurting.
Despite the scandal, Newsome Technology becomes a global success. It's bought out by a top tech company in the 90s. And years later, Mavis is able to find peace.
I was determined from the beginning that I would not allow this tragedy to destroy me. And later on, I met a very wonderful man who's now my husband, and I feel I have happiness at last.
In the end, Michael's murder isn't due to corporate espionage, and there was no evidence of any wrongdoing by his partner or any of his business associates. In fact, it's just an old-fashioned love triangle gone horribly wrong. Only Jane and Carl know what really happened that night. And still, the murmurs continue to echo through Silicon Valley about a brilliant entrepreneur, a dangerous employee, and a death so disturbing, no one will ever forget it.